he was still able to go to camp. We had some type of fundraisings or something so that everybody went to camp.
Okay.
Matt Curry, is that the attorney?
Yeah.
So I thought I worked with him for quite a few years at
Is he
Boise
in
State.
one of those?
Yeah. Tad Deutsch, I'm guessing that's Mike's brother.
Yeah, old Deutsches and a bunch of Deutsches.
Yep.
I guess I've got a few names here
Yeah.
to ask you about any recollection of any of these people.
Okay.
Well, Virgil Reed, of course, that would have been before you were there.
You know, there's an interesting story about Virgil Reed, and it was told to me by his daughter when I called for his name. Were you at the campfire when I called Virgil? Like a little too went woo woo.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody just froze like.
Yep.
Afterwards, I went up and I visited with her, and she said, you know, I was 5 years old, 6 years old at camping, and she said, my father had an old Indian that worked around doing odd jobs. Did you hear the story? This old Indian would do odd jobs for him, and he hired on. So, but every Wednesday, the Indian would have supper at the dining hall, and he'd disappear. So one Wednesday night, Virgil followed him back into the woods. He gets back into the woods, and all he sees up through the trees and the darkness there, and he sees a flickering of a fire. And as the closer he gets through the trees, he sees this Indian sitting by the fire. So he comes out, and the Indian looks up to see him. He doesn't say a word, and Virgil looks down at the Indian. So Virgil, he's totally quiet, so he comes up to the fire, and he's going to sit down across from the Indian. I wish I knew the old Indian's name, but I don't. It's gone. Indian goes like this. Spirits sit there. So he moved off to the side. They both sat and watched the fire and didn't say a word. So every Wednesday night, this old Indian would go back in the woods and call the spirits to come to the campfire and join him.
Interesting.
I don't know if it's in this book or not, but I had a letter from a guy when I was active in patch trading that was one of the first rangers at camp, and it was an 8 to 12 page letter, and I think I might have gave it to the guy. But anyway, it was how the first ranger out there got lost, and he was lost for 3 days and out of food, and he killed a porcupine and ate that, and then finally some helicopter found him out in the woods.
I don't think I've heard that either.
What that's John.
Yeah, it was, and I can't remember. I gave the letter to somebody, and I thought I gave it to him. Yeah, dig through. There's all kinds of old stuff down there.
Yeah, I don't remember reading that in the book, but not to say he doesn't still have
Georgian
it.
made me that leather neckerchief for 203, and then I carved the diamond wool neckerchief slide. But I guess they don't wear neckerchiefs anymore.
Don, you have to.
Our troops was still doing well, but
You need to come up with us and go visit with Rita.
Oh, Rita and
Wouldn't that be fun?
Well, I'll tell you how close Rita and I are. In 1973, Norm and Rita made me this Don Carlson when I got my silver beaver.
Oh, cool.
And she made that cup for me. And then, oh golly, there are two of their sons. Is that dirt? All that dirt on that end? Wow.
It changes color.
Then her two sons came down and got their Eagle Scouts here at 3 at Holy. I got a deal here. We can wipe that. Boy, is that thing dirty. But she made that for me. Is she still in Park Rapids?
As far as I know, yes.
You know, she had the ceramic store there or something. And
Yeah, it's April 8th, 1978.
78, I got the silver beaver. So, yeah, she made that. Yeah.
She did a good job.
Yeah.
It actually even looks like a beaver.
Yeah, it's all handmade. Back in those days, we did a lot of that stuff. You see that?
Norm's last year as Ranger would have been
Oh,
70. He didn't get in the 80s, did he?
no. Norm had a heart of gold, but he got into conflict with some of the volunteers,
Yeah.
and I would say it would be somewhere around 76, 77.
Yeah, 'cause I know he was there in '76. I was thinking. I
Yeah, or
don't know about
78.
77.
Well, they made this for me, so he must have been still there
Mm-hmm.
in 78, but he didn't get into the 80.
No.
88, no. So it is 78 or 79 that,
Mhm.
yeah, that was, yeah, she made that for me. I got all the old cups up there too from Camp Wilderness. There's some old Camp Wilderness ones
Mhm.
there, the animal skin for the 30th, and over there to the, right to the blue skin. Yeah. Oh, am I back on the question here?
Okay. Well, we were talking about some various people here anyway. Neville Pearson.
Neville Pearson. Gee, the name Neville did.
He was out of Wheaton, Minnesota.
Neville.
He was probably probably 49, maybe 50 was his last year there.
Yeah, no. It just rings a faint, distant bell. There was a Chuck Shelkoff. He was out of Valley City, I think. He was a big scouter back then, Chuck Shelkoff. Just looking at the Silver Beavers, 4 or 5 of them are already dead in that my Silver Beavers thing. Okay, go on, give me the next one.
Another one would be John Lean.
Well, he was the cook, wasn't he?
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, he was a stout man and loved food and had glasses.
What was his wife's name?
Oh, I don't remember a wife. I remember John Lean. Yeah, if he was 300 pounds, he was light. He was a pretty good sized man.
Early, but like he was up there in the '70s. He'd gotten older and skinnier up.
Oh, had he?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, jeez.
Because I remember him in the 80s and he was even thinner.
Oh, was he? Oh,
Mhm.
okay.
He's been there for many years. I bet he was cooking I bet he's got 3 decades of cooking out there.
Oh, jeez, yeah. Yeah. Give me another name.
Another name, Edgar Olson.
Just distant bell.
All right, Herman Stern.
Well, Herman Stern, I mean, everybody knows Herman Stern and Doc Baker, for Pete's sake. And Doc Baker Jr., I did some Indian programs for him.
That's another person that you and I should go visit.
That,
Roberta said that we can stop down and visit and
oh, golly.
go through their stuff. And
That Doc Baker, I stayed with him when I did Indian programs. And, yeah, he had a place back there. And it was we did one program back in the woods where he was a taxidermist. All kinds of bones were buried back. Not buried, there were just piles of bones back in there. I remember Doc Baker Jr. and I were back there, but those guys were pretty much out of the picture then. And Herman's son, Ed, I saw Ed at the symphony on this last Sunday. I said, geez, Ed, you're looking pretty good. You know a good place you can get a suit? Of course, they go in Strauss clothing for Valley City. He says, this is my burial suit. I said, well, just make sure it's clean then, Ed.
do you have any stories then of Herman? Because most of us, I never got a chance to meet him.
He was a person that you didn't see a lot because he was raising funds. He was talking to community leaders, to corporations, and raising money for the projects and to buy the land at camp and everything else. So if you were lucky, you would see him at one of the once a year at the council general meeting where they would speak. But otherwise, they weren't around on a lot of activity.
How about Norm? He was around a little bit more.
Norm, well, see, Norm started the tree planting.
Talk about that, because that's something that most of us aren't. I got the tail end of that.
Oh, geez, that would be another, just like fall camporee, winter camporee, spring camporee. We would have a tree planting weekend at Camp Wilderness, and units would come up and they would take sections of the forest, and we would have all these spriggets that we taught them, gave them a little training session how you the spade open, down, close with the spade, and plant trees. And I don't know, we planted thousands of trees. We go into one area and another area and plant and all that. We never did have a patch though or anything for that. I don't think. I think the Canadians got a patch or something that they use for something for tree planting. Yeah, he was pretty instrumental in that, and I think that also helped the camp because then the loggers came in and logged that, and then the camp got money for logging too.
Do you know why he was so determined? I mean, that was one of his things. I mean, that was probably his biggest thing he was known for.
Boy, Dick Jr. would probably have that answer. I wouldn't know. But that'd be fun to reminisce with him.
Sometime you're able
Yeah,
to go on a road trip.
my cabin is, our summer place is on Lake Melissa, 7 miles from Detroit Lakes. Yeah, I have my own personal private, the Puckard Piper Pub. So you get me out of the Puckard Piper Pub, I'll be happy to go over there. I don't know what condition health-wise I'll be in.
We can always come visit you, maybe.
It's wide open. The whole rule is everything is free.
I know. I think Dick would enjoy that.
Yes, he would. I haven't seen him for years. Yeah.
I know I would anyway.
Yeah, I would enjoy that. He's like I say, I haven't talked to him for 15, 20 years or so, maybe 30. I don't know.
How about Jack Conway?
Oh, Jack Conway. Yeah, Jack Conway. Jack Conway, I knew him when he was a seminarian and debating, should I go into the priesthood or should I get married? Or should I get married or go into the priesthood? And he fought that battle for, 4 or 5 years. He just didn't know which way. Finally, he decided to go into the priesthood, and he became a priest. And then I saw him over at Nativity Church. He was in Fargo here. He was an assistant at Nativity. And then somewhere along the line, he had a change and left the priesthood, and then got married, and he's living down in Minneapolis now. Tremendous guy with the kids. Really, he was a fun guy.
What were some of the things he did at camp?
Well, basically, he went to the campsites and the Catholic chaplain, and basically, if a kid was homesick or a kid was lonely or whatever, or wanted to talk, he was almost like a counselor in a way, pretty much.
Was he out there like on a full-time basis?
Well, he was
then?
all summer. Yeah, he was all summer long.
Okay.
And quite a few different summers.
Quite a few. Yeah, he was there. Oh, geez, my guess is 4 or 5 years that he was around there. A tremendous guy. Yeah. In fact, that's where I found that. I got to find his address. His brother Bill Conway, I think, lives in Fargo with a school system, and I got to find Jack's address because that 1958 mimeograph sheet of all the whole camp staff. I'm supposed to return that to him on penalty of death, and that goes back to 1973. 73, 83, 93, 203. I'm getting real close to death right now if I don't get that back. This is some old neat stuff in there.
Were there anybody else that comes to mind?
Well, that Vern Lindsay that I mentioned, that he was one of the first Minnedoodle Lodge chiefs, and he was on camp staff for a number of years and smoked that Curb Mershman pipe, and he was very, very active, Vern Lindsay. I remember him. And I remember Lloyd Ogren, that we rented the house from in 1953. And then there was, what's the other executive? Orland Johnson. And then there's a guy in Fergus Falls too that John, he was a professional.
John Deeseth?
Not Deeseth, no. He's
School Johnson
you know
Ferguson.
what I'm talking, yeah. name comes to my mind. But yeah, that's
Barton.
John Martin. Yeah,
Barton. B-A-R.
Barton.
Barton. Yeah.
Barton. Yeah. Oh, and,
He's
Chuck,
another one we need to go visit.
and Chuck Shelkoff. I'll tell you that Jim Laveau in Moorhead has a lot of memories of Camp Shawandassi and wilderness camps.
That's
He's-
Laveau, right?
Laveau.
L-O-V-O? Or L-A-V-O-L-D?
L-A-V-O-L-D, I think.
Okay.
L-A-V-O-L-D. And I don't know if you're Tom Hall. Tom Hall is real active over the Moorhead side.
Tom knows Jim, doesn't he?
Yeah, he would know him.
We should have.
Yeah.
We should talk to him too.
Yeah, he's pretty knowledgeable. He would have some, a lot of it's gone. I mean, you're talking stuff that happened 40 plus years ago.
Well, yeah, that's.
Yeah, you're gonna say I worked on camp staff 30 years ago.
Oh, yeah, okay, 50 years ago. 50 years ago.
You ever look back and remember any pranks or anything that anybody pulled out there? I know you mentioned the one about painting toenails black. And
Oh, Steve Shark.
yeah.
I'll always remember that. On there. And then, of course, Fritz Zerbo when he was stark naked and crossed his
Yeah.
chest and ran to the. I remember that one there. And these are all letters of guys that sent me letters over the years thanking me for being instrumental in their life. That was kind of nice, to somebody that does that.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah. It was nice to be appreciated.
Yeah. Well, now I'm doing my Indian garb and doing the Aero Light program. We're going back to San Mateo. And I sew garb and tell Indian legends and stories to the scout troop. My son's in, my grandson is in now. So,
Yeah. The costume doesn't sit around too much. Then.
well, I'm from the old school. What I did is I went down there and did this Aero Light program, and of course they thought I was hired from some theatrical group. 8 kids got the Aero Light, and I told them the trail to Eagle Scout is long and hard, but you've already started by Aero of Light. And they said, you have to remember 3 words. You can be Eagle Scout if you remember these 3 words. As you will. Okay? In April, it'll be 1 year after the program was done and I got back home. I had this postcard made up of me in my Indian garb, showing the trail to Eagle and as you will. Now this coming April, I will send another postcard saying it has been 1 year now. Have you faltered from the trail? Are you still on the trail to Eagle? Remember the words, as you will. So I'll send all 8 kids, will get another card.
That's neat.
Just from me, out of the blue. I'll go over and have a gals do some shots, different shots of me in my Indian garb. And just to kind of, yeah, and that's what I do now.
That's great.
That's just my own little thing of giving
That's
back to the
great.
kids.
Can you think of anything that, like the names of the campsites out there, some of the old names and stuff, if there was any significance to why they named them the way
No,
they did?
but there was a fellow that was killed. He was an EMT or an ambulance driver. What was it? They named all the. They made that. They made a horse a boot with studs in the heel.
Oh, yeah?
So if you hike the trail,
Oh, George Burke.
and they had a regular plasticized boot bottom, and if you hiked the trail, then you could paint this a color. And they had went out and done all the trails, and they had metal strips, different. You did that? Okay.
And Harpo did that.
Yeah, and and I was thinking, you got to keep up on these kids because they got so much going on. But this summer, my son's coming back. I want to take him to wilderness and walk over and show him the osprey. Is it still there? The osprey nest? Gone?
Eagle took it over.
An eagle took it over?
The Ospreys moved to from the bingo place, if you're gonna head towards like, head towards Dorset.
Yeah.
From the bingo place, it'll be off to the right. There's like a little valley in there.
Oh.
He's sitting in there is where he's at now.
There is another one
Is there?
north. Because remember we saw it when we were driving up there. It was out by one of the lakes. Other lakes out there.
It's
Remember which
northwest of Boardman.
one? Okay.
Oh.
Yeah, there is a nest out there too. So I would say it's hard to say if it's the same one or which one it was, but
Yeah, I want my. I hope it's okay if I can take my grandson over there and
Oh, you
just
bet.
stop and talk to Andy and say, can we just take a walk on the trail and show him the old.
That would be fine.
You know, he would appreciate that, I think. But you know, going back to my point, one of the things we're going to do when they come up this summer is go over to Itasca State Park there, and you rent bicycles, mountain bikes, and you go up and down their trails. Well, with all these kids today with mountain bikes, that you know, if the guys ever had trails at Camp Wilderness, wouldn't that be a kind of a fun deal for them?
We have done bikes up there.
Have ya?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Yep, there's been a few years where we've done bikes. It's really hard on them. There's still
Oh, yeah.
bikes
Oh.
took a beating.
a couple dozen up in the.
It's actually kind of making a comeback a little bit. They're going to use it for kind of an extra activity they want to do for
Oh.
their own.
Yeah, you got to keep one step ahead because in my time we was the activity,
Mm-hmm.
but now in the 21st century, you've got so many outside things. How many can they be in?
Mm-hmm.
My grandson's in swimming. He is in taekwondo, this Japanese swords. He's in karate. He's in scouts. He's in band. And there's only so many hours in a day, and he comes home and he's still got to do his schoolwork when he comes home.
Yep.
You know, these kids are going on and on and on. Well, I'll show you a picture of this too. This you hand me that blanket. This is the Circle of Life blanket, and what it is given to the elders. And what the blanket means is that those elders that have been instrumental in helping you learn and train the new ones, that they call us the peacekeepers, the wisdom givers, the legend seekers, and this is the Circle of Life. The Indians, Circle of Life.
Where did you get this from?
My son gave this to me.
Oh, okay.
So thank you for.
Is that like the New Mexico flag or something similar to that?
No. In fact, there's a deal on it. It's a